Welcome everyone, Simon here from the Whales of Wall Street, back with some videos today, particularly Energy Web Foundation's EWT token, which we'll be looking at shortly on the charts. But first of all, do go check out our other videos on the channel. Loads of different topics, loads of different assets, loads of different discussions. Do remember to leave comments in the videos if there's projects or assets that you want us to cover, or indeed particular topics. We are always interested to know what people want to hear. But guys, let's go into this. I'm going to start off with a mini topic that's been going on around the world, really. It's quite fascinating that we perhaps close ourselves in our own bubble, our own country bubble. But it's important to understand that the whole world is going through this situation right now. And we kind of know that the narratives are around a particular region of the world as to why this is all occurring. Now, I want to take a step back from this narrative, I guess, that we see on mainstream media. I'm not saying that it's not because, exactly because of that. There's a load of different variables in here, some of which we're going to discuss in a minute's time before we go into the energy web conversation. But here in the UK, we are getting constant narrative about energy and fuel prices rising, and particularly potential hikes coming in October this year. Now, I'm not sure if that's the same for other countries, but very interesting if it is. Because then it just aligns each other quite nicely, doesn't it, in terms of narratives, in terms of media fear and all these kind of things, okay? So at this moment in time, they are suggesting, or experts are suggesting, I call them experts, I have no idea who these people are. I mean, not sure he's trustworthy, but let's see what we got here. So they're suggesting that a lot of money is going to be demanded from these energy companies come October again. Some people's bills rising to potentially near enough £1,000 in terms of the rise over the year's period. But I've got pals who have sent me like how much their bills will be every month based on their usage and everything moving forward. And it's absolutely disgusting. I was fortunate enough through no specific reason, I signed up to a fixed term about a year or so ago for a long-term one with no hindsight of see what was to come. So I'm in a grateful position to have that secured for at least another year or 2 years. But those that haven't are struggling because a lot of companies are blocking being able to go into other energy companies or utilize a different service, and basically being forced into this dilemma of having to pay more. And it's all stemmed from the argument that of gas and electricity comes from certain places in the world. And that's kind of like the major excuse as to why it's happening. Of course, inflation around the world in general. We're basically paying for the furlough. I don't know what it's called in other countries, maybe stimulus checks and stuff from the pandemic. And that's how they claw it back. They claw it back with other means. We also have the Agenda 30 program from the World Economic Forum and the UN that has a gigantic push in it for sustainability and the transition of energy markets into renewables and all of these other things. It's down to money, guys, at the end of the day, because what you will see now is narratives coming from your energy companies because of all this fear mechanism in regards to your bills going up. They'll start providing you information on how to reduce those, which is a great thing, in my opinion. But you also have to stem backwards. By the way, in this video, I'm not suggesting that all of these are really bad ideas or how dare they. It's more about understanding and opening your eyes to what really is probably happening here. And in my honest opinion, this is about money. This is about companies and privatizations in the background to encourage you to go and start buying things that you would probably never have considered for a while, or maybe never at all. And these companies are going to make a lot of money out of this because a marketing campaign comes out. There's a fear tactic here already. We've already seen these fear tactics over decades and decades. And this is the new one. So we have this coming up. We have the expectation that the governments here in the UK, and I'm not sure again what other countries are doing, but we will have essentially mini stimulus payments going out to people to pay the bills. Now, people don't ask the question, where does this money come from and how are we going to pay it back? Well, we're already paying back the money that we've been giving out left, right and centre a couple of years ago. And you know what? It helped a lot of people. Absolutely brilliant. but you do have to pay the price. We then get all of these things, and it becomes a bit more of a like systematic approach where people are like, oh, okay, well, we kind of have to do this, and no one ever questions anything. It just carries on. And we get into the conversation here. So my supplier is Eon, okay? And literally within the space of 2 days this week, I get 2 emails from them. The first one about heat pumps and telling me that I could sign up to a package where I pay for the heat pump, and it could save me up to X amount per year on the fuel bill for heaters and this, that, and the other. Now I was thinking, okay, that's quite interesting. So I have to pay for this. The funny thing is, you're paying for something an energy company could arguably supply to you anyway, but let's just think about it backwards. I've worked in distribution, I've worked in the accounts and all this kind of thing in the background. I know how this works. The companies go to the energy companies because they've got a product or a solution, and the energy companies take them on board. They buy them, and there's like a commission aspect. There's a obviously profit making on both sides from the distributor and the wholesaler of these machines or products, whatever you want to call them, to the energy companies. It's basically an avenue. It's like thinking of Eon as Amazon or a high street shop. These companies make these products and they go to various different companies, different retailers, etc., and especially energy companies because they have such a vast database of people, and they produce the option to buy these things. Now, you are basically going to then start paying for something arguably that could be given to you, but you're going to pay for it, and it means that if you move house or something, you've already paid it for your energy company, and you're already creating the new national grid. And arguably, yes, the reward could be cheaper bills, but the ultimate factor is here, hang on a minute, we've got this major problem, and all of a sudden you guys have got solutions for this. Solar panels, we've seen this for a number of years, grants and opportunities for companies to come out and put solar panels on you, and you get paid back in the national grid, etc. We'll go on to that point in a minute. But here's another one, again, within 2 days, about solar panels. And I'm sitting there going, can no one else see this? Like, they pull this negative news out all the time, fear-mongering, and then they hit you with 2 options here, going, oh, you know all that money we said we're going to rise, like by £1,000 or whatever a year? Well, isn't it interesting that the money that could be saved with these 2 mechanisms kind of roughly equates to the same amount that you're trying to take more off of me? So it encourages this balance of your mind psychologically to go, right, well, they want £1,000 more of me this year because of the situation in the world, which probably has nothing to do with why they're rising it anyway. But, oh, actually, I could do this and pay in a bit extra more in a month, still be within the threshold that I could afford it, but also add to a new system. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I'm not saying this is horrendously bad ideas. I'm just trying to open your eyes as to how the world works when it comes to money and companies and privatizations and doing some deals in the background, products, services, all of these things. HVAC, about air conditioning and the way heat pumps and these things are happening. The market is due to rise a minimum of 6%. It says 5.1 here, but I've got more critical data than this since then. But around 6.1 or 6.2% increase up to 2030. Isn't it convenient that the 2030 marker is when the Agenda 30 program is supposed to complete itself? I'm sure there'll be a new one very soon that everyone has to sign worldwide. But the fact of the matter is the monetary value of this market is substantially higher. By even 2027, I anticipate this to be well over the $300 billion mark over 2030. And this very much relates to, conveniently, things like heat pumps and all the other things that we work out with currently. And there's things like air conditioning units and ones now which have like the UV ability to supposedly remove viruses and all this stuff. So there's loads of interesting things going to happen around the world. And mark my words, you're going to see more and more narratives around renewables, because this is what the agenda was about. Sustainability by 2030, the target, and net zero potentially by 2050. But money is going to be made. So that's why we bring the conversation back as to, okay, what projects and things in the crypto market that are relating to the new technologies and solutions coming out that we want to pay attention to. And that does bring us to Energy Web for sure. But before we do that, let's also mention a couple of other things. Here in the UK, natural gas imports, Russia is actually the lowest one, but people need to understand as well, they can easily say, well, we don't get our gas and electricity in Russia, but of course supply and demand is affected based on other remits as well. So for example, we were getting a load of our energy from Norway, and a load of other countries were just purely relying on the likes of Russia, for example, in more metric tons than we are currently, or were in 2021 at least. Then of course the demand gets heavier on Norway, and as a broker of energy, this is how it works. The energy companies like the coal manufacturers and the nuclear, etc., fusion, create the energy. A broker buys that at rates based on supply and demand, and then they pass that on to the energy companies. We pay tax duty on top of that as well, and that's why we see the rise in bills. So there's a lot of money lost in like leaking pipes and things like this, but people don't consider. But too costly because these guys love to make money, right? So they can't be bothered to fix anything. So this is what happens. So it's not fully reliant on this narrative that we see in the world. We UK, we get our things from the North Sea, etc., which we do, understandably. But you got to understand that also another load of countries are coming to Norway, Denmark, etc., to go, hey guys, ours has been cut off. Can we come to you? And of course you can. We've got loads of it. And then the money cost goes up. Yes, we can argue that tax and duties added on, and that should be reduced, this, that, and that. We're not going to do that. The government loves the tax, right? So we've just got to have a bit of an understanding there. But back to the point about supply and demand and everything like this, is the factor of blockchain. Blockchain is transparency. Blockchain is enabling us to have verified transactions, verified costs on an algorithm based on AI and data. This is very important to understand, because what's happening right now in a sense of a manual perspective, yes, of course, they got data algorithms and calculations done by certain computers, but blockchain goes a level ahead. It can take all the entire data around the world simultaneously, real time, and determine what the price should be, rather than some guy making a load of money and profit every year for brokering deals of rates and carbon units and all this stuff. But of course, with Energy Web as well, there is the opportunity for becoming a prosumer, i.e. you using your solar panels, your generators, your battery capacities to go, I have surplus energy here. And you essentially almost act as an energy producer yourself. And you can send this energy, which doesn't mean that you go, oh, well, I'm in demand now, I'm going to put it up £1,000. It will be done literally on a worldwide algorithm. So there is no messing about, there is no fluctuating of prices. It's pure and simple. And it means that if you don't use your energy, so it does encourage you to not use your energy because you save money on your bills, but you also have surplus energy that you can make money on. It's a win-win situation. This is why I'm fully behind blockchain mechanisms, particularly for the energy sector. We'll go on to Energy Web here. In terms of this accelerating decarbonisation of the global economy. This isn't just for domestic, this is about private companies and big companies, corporations as well, being able to make money. When you say to someone, we can make you some money by doing this, and also you save money anyway in general from promoting better energy usage, people go, oh yeah, brilliant, sign me up. And this is what will happen. We've already got the solutions here. The problem I have in my mind right now is the decentralization versus centralization. It's very difficult to see the path that we will go down right now. And will we have the choice at all? Will we be shut down from these decentralized opportunities in the near future? Because this does lead back to the point about creating these problems, having the solutions, and then people are so happy about them, they'll do anything to stay on this system and be happy about it. We talked about UBI recently, Universal Basic Income. This is where you start getting payments from the governments on a regular basis for free, which nothing's for free, guys. Like, you have to pay for it in some other capacity. But when you get this and you start having a reliance on it, they also have the ability to potentially control it or take away based on your behaviors, what you do and don't do. We've got things like play to earn, view to earn, move to earn, eat to earn. All of these things coming. All of these things are coming, and it's a question of like, well, hang on a minute, if I don't do this or I don't buy this product, am I going to get a restriction of costs and things like this? Now, that sounds a bit dystopian, but it's for sure being talked about right now, and certainly in the prospect of potentially happening. So we need to be careful. We need to understand, this is the whole point of this video, is not to say what's right and wrong and what is and isn't happening. It's about being aware of these things that are coming our way. The fact that we have CBDCs on the brink of discovery across the world, more and more people are becoming aware of it. In China alone right now, you're allowed to use the ECYN, which is basically the digital yuan, to pay for transportation. They're stepping it up. And this is going to be worldwide. But when you go onto CBD systems and the magnitude of what we've seen here with the problems of energy and forcing people into these systems and forcing people into go, I need to take money from the government, we need to start seeing what happens as a catalyst, what happens as the snowball effect. Can we stop it before it all happens and find a different way? And I've always believed that certain aspects of blockchain, especially in decentralization, can fix this. It can fix the inflation problems. It can fix, the malicious activities, essentially, of some of these energy companies or brokers that force upon us these horrible situations where people are in debt and then get depressed or angry, upset, worried, anxious. This is something we need to think about, guys, as a team. Collectively as a team, all of us together, to try and understand this a lot more and quicker. We are running out of time, guys. I've always said by 2025, all these CBDCs and the new banking system will be here. There's no doubt in my mind that they will start rolling out the bigger systems like basic universal income. Watch for the posters, guys. I've seen the posters here in the UK already on bus stops talking about basic universal income with happy smiley faces on them and say, yeah, come and take the money, come and take the money. There's a catch everywhere, guys. And like I said, if it helps people, absolutely fantastic. But you also need to understand the end game. You have to. Social security for all. This is all World Economic Forum driven. But it leads to this point about where Energy Web sits in here. There's another company like Power Ledger that we cover as well, and a few others also. We have to make sure that these guys go down the correct route, that they don't get lost and get too centralized or taken over too much by government entity, and this, that, and the other. This is not hate towards governments and things. It's more about an appraisal of like, what can we achieve together as a human race? What can we achieve as a community of investors, but also making sure that we're morally correct as well, as much as we can be. The sustainability aspect, we talked here about Vodafone, about smart cars. We talked about this before. Cars potentially being able to wireless charge themselves and based on algorithm of energy and using people's energy from their homes as you're driving past. It's all about the algorithm. It's all about the AI aspect and all about the automation of transactions through blockchain verification. You not having to get your phone out every 5 seconds because you need to charge your car. It's just done automatically. And this transpires into the energy markets for cybersecurity in terms of grids. This is very interesting about DIDs and variable credentials. We talked about before entering these new taxis that are coming, driverless cars, because less cars will be used in 10, 20 years time, right? You just get an appointment booked through work and everything will be done automatically. A taxi arrives within a few minutes to pick you up. Your face is recognized in the car you go, all based on 5G and the algorithm. Of if you've forgotten things, it will order things that will be delivered to you when you get to your destination, all this stuff. And also in the fuel market of aviation. This is, of course, similar to us here in domestic markets about the cost of fuel and this, that, and the other. But this blockchain technology can obviously help these aspects as well. So very interesting indeed that we have got here in front of us the investment opportunity for something that's going to be so huge. This is so huge. We're talking about energy market in general, but also the automation of everything. Aircrafts, transportation, healthcare, in terms of wireless charging for electric vehicles, EVs, and the way that communicates with things that we're already using in 5G technology and all of this stuff. So all the infrastructure has been put in place. We've got Starlink above us now, penetrating us with rays of internet and whatever else. And it's just understanding that, guys, that big things are coming. Big things are coming, and we need to start assessing more about our investments in the longer term. Because I do think when I was investing in EWT a few years ago, I could see the future. But now I'm starting to see the dot connecting of all these energy companies coming out with their narratives, the media coming out with their narratives about fuel prices, energy prices. Guys, wake up, understand what is going on here. As I said, it's great that we're finding new renewable sources and new items to help us in this transition from moving from the resources that we've been using for too long, coal and all this stuff. But do understand that there is a cost and a price to pay, and it's always the people that pay it. So how can we avoid this? How can we be structured as a civilization, as a community here in crypto, to avoid a lot of this stuff, but still do the good things, still do the good paths of renewables and finding a better solution to energy, rather than going into this crazy system that I think is going to bring a lot of people down. Control is something you have to be aware of. Those are my thoughts and opinions. Let us know in the comments below what you think. But in the meantime, let's go and jump into the chart of EWT here on our trade view. Guys, EWT is up right now to a whopping $4.50. That is whopping in the sense that we've come from $2.50 only back here at the beginning of August. Now, I did say that EWT, in my opinion, by 2025 and certainly by 2030, I do see this being at least a $200 token. All the things we just mentioned are important to understand. Where energy is going, how blockchain is going to fix a lot of things, and how this technology will be used. The partnerships that EWT have, the solutions that they have, in my mind, and the humongous aspect we just showed you about HVAC and heat pumps and all this stuff. That's just a small, minute detail as to what is to come for the energy market, right? So you've got to multiply that as well in your factor. And I do think 200 is perhaps even conservative. It might be a lot higher than that as years go by. But I for sure have been enjoying EWT back down at these $2 marks. If you look back here, you can see that EWT was a lot higher. Back here, even in April 2021, hitting the highs of about $20, $23, $24. I think we'll hit that easily in the next big bull run. But for now, we're seeing some excitement back around in EWT based on the information that they're providing out in the last couple of weeks in terms of their solutions and what's going on with energy in the world. I think more and more people are becoming aware of this. And these are quite big spikes, to be fair. They're hitting some of the higher spectrums of the fib retracements on the medium macro levels as well. If you look here, we've hit on the longer term, this one here at pretty much $5. I think, what was it, the 21st of August, we hit a high move my mouse away, $5.20. So that's literally banged on this door here around this mark, and we've just dropped down to this one. So my anticipation is I don't think we'll support this level massively at this stage. I think it's a bit early to conclude that. But what we are indeed, first of all, doing is looking back here at May 2022 and March 2022 respectively. This is where we are currently. So we've had the drop downs, it failed, it's supported, but then it rejected this one. We've spent a bit of time between May and August down at these lower levels, great opportunity to be purchasing. And then we've risen, right? We've first of all risen to this point, banging back here, but also here where we are currently today as a recording. So this is a really important area. As I said, I don't think we'll last here significantly because I do think this gap is too big. And what the gap I'm talking about for those that are listening rather than watching, this $3.39 up to around $4.40. This is a big gap, right? It's not filled up enough, and it's not got enough support mechanism in my mind to be saying that we're well out of this. So for me personally, I am going to first of all be having a buy opportunity back down here at around $3.70. This puts us in line with two areas. One, a failure here back in the 8th and 9th of May, a test of that area in 8th of June, which failed, and that's when we went back to the sort of $2.20 marks. And now we're back into almost this area. You can see on the 18th and the 19th and 20th of August, we tested this area as well, and it supported it. So I think we could come back and test this area. Could it come back lower? Absolutely possible. But I'm not really fussed about the difference between the 370 and the 320. So I've got mine at 370 just to cover that area. And I will always have a buy order back here at the lower region of $3. Okay, I'm talking about like around about $3.10, $3 just under $3.10, so perhaps 3.97 or something. They're where I'm putting my buy orders. Okay, we're still in an upward trend of EWT. So for me personally, yes, I believe in the longevity of EWT. As I said earlier, I think it could easily be around $200 in the coming years, but I'm not going to do this because in these valuations, like at $4, for example, and I'm putting that in and we come back down to 2 or 3, that can be quite a lot of money in terms of monetary value. So I've just got to be more cautious with this. If we're talking about like pennies or something, it's fine for me to be a bit more manual about it. But for right now, it's being a bit more strategic because we're talking about higher values per asset unit, if that makes sense. So we can look at the RSIs here to kind of confirm that as well. So on the MACD, first of all, it's huge. The gap is huge. It's not for me right now to be purchasing. For those that purchased in low regions, fantastic. You're seeing great profits. If you're new to EWT, it's down to you, obviously, to do your own research and everything like this. But just from my perspective, my thoughts of what I'm doing, I'm waiting. If it rises and rises, fantastic. We're all making some money, right? But we just got to be a bit patient because there will be plenty of gain opportunities in the near future and beyond. Doesn't mean like you could come in at $4, for example, and if we hit 20, fantastic, you made a load of money again. So on these RSIs at 14 days, it's 62. It's, as I said, slightly high for me on the earlier level. The 28 days showing 60 as well. So I want to see this start coming back to around maybe 55 on the 28 day. And on the 14 day, I'm going to need to see that come down a lot more as well before I start jumping in. But I will have my buy orders, my limit orders at these two areas anyway. And I'll just keep an eye out manually as well if there's something in between that I fancy. But you can see here as well, the buying opportunities are kicking in. There has not really been a mega sell-off for EWT other than here back in April and May, which is where the whole market was doing this activity since December. So people are being very confident with EWT. I think they're probably taking advantage of the staking as well, which we've got a video on in a couple of days' time. And they're seeing the principle of what's coming with the energy sector and what EWT is capable of doing. That's why I think people are holding and they're buying at the lower regions as much as possible. Obviously, there's a bit of FOMO coming in here, profit taking, and then we saw that bit of a snap up again. So here you've got this big rise, double the money, bringing it down at a sensible rate, and then pulling it back up again. So we're at these support levels. Let's see how we react to this $4.50 mark. But yeah, as I said, I do anticipate this to come down low. It might not be immediate, but certainly over the next couple of weeks as the news filters out and this, that, and the other. And I'm just keep an eye on the energy market in general, guys, because it's really important to understand what's going on. But the performance indicators on the right-hand side here are fantastic if you're an investor and you've been holding EWT for some time and certainly been in that bear market like I have been and buying at the $2 mark. Up 16% on the week. This is a really good one on the month, 78% up and 59% up on the 3 months. The 6 months is looking really good, guys. There are not many assets out there that can boast this on a 6 month. It's still a negative, yes, but look at that, -5. We're so close to edging this upwards into green on a 6 months. And isn't it funny because in the middle of a bear market, you just can't see the end of the tunnel, right? You can't see the light there. But now we're starting to see a bit more confidence kicking in, but also people obviously like structuring their money a bit differently now. They're like fed up with the usual systems and they're putting some money into some other wealth aspects like crypto, like stocks, etc. But put it in the right ones. Put it in the ones that you can see a future with, a longevity with. For me, EWT, I'm not going to be selling EWT until it's at least $100, and that will only be my initial investments that I sell. I'm looking way beyond that because I can see where this is all going. Follow the World Economic Forum, follow the energy sectors, follow what's going on, follow the money. You will see the answers in front of you, and then you will make your decisions in investments based on these as well. Invest in what you know, as they say. Guys, I'm going to wrap that up there. Thanks for watching. Sorry, I went a bit longer than usual, but it's been a while since the last video. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next EWT video. Bye-bye.